Hey everybody, it's Zach, Tennis Pro Doc, helping you improve your game with science. And it is about 9 p.m. here, and these shoes just arrived a few hours ago, and that is how pumped up I am to review the all-new adidas Ubersonic 4s. And the reason I am so excited to play test these is the adidas Ubersonic 2s are some of my favorite shoes, but the adidas Ubersonic 3s are some of my least favorite shoes. So I am gonna put these ones through the gauntlet tonight of test to see, are these Ubersonic 4s worth the wait and worth the hype? Here we go. All right, so I just got off court with these, and I would say first impressions, there's a lot that reminds me of the 2s and a lot that reminds me of the 3s. So let's get right into it with the uppers. All right, so it is a slipper tongue still like the 3s and the 2s. It is more of a hybrid 3-piece, however. You do get the same winglets as you do in the 2s. However, they aren't as hard of plastic and they aren't that double layer. They're just one layer in the upper. Now, the next thing is this tongue here is actually pretty thin. It's kind of a little bit even thinner than the 2s. The 2s actually had that neoprene on these. These are a lot more of a thin tongue, almost like the 3s. What you are getting here is this really high heel counter. This heel counter actually has this pad on it too, which is really nice. So it keeps you nice and snug there, but it doesn't rub your Achilles. It actually feels pretty good and does hold you in the shoe a lot better than the 3s, I think. Now, moving into the shoelace closure system, Adidas did something I absolutely love from the 3s into the 4s, in that they added an integrated shoelace eyelet system, which means these are kind of like the Vapor 10s, where the shoelace eyelets are actually built into the upper, and there's actually winglets that go into the midsole. So you are getting a tremendous tie down on these, opposite of the 3s, where they just had these little flimsy outrigger shoelace eyelets that didn't give you much of a tie down. These are gonna give you a much better tie down, more like the 2s. I think the biggest elephant in the room in the uppers is, what was that woven upper going to feel like? Was it going to feel really nice like the 2s, or was it going to feel a little bit more cardboard like the 3s? And honestly, it's kind of right in between. It is much more forgiving than the 3s. That prime green layer is actually a little bit more forgiving. However, when I first put these on, I did notice a crease right here on the big toe joint. That took about 30 minutes to go away. I did start to get used to it. However, at first it was a little annoying and it did remind me of the 3s, but after I started playing in them more, it did forgive a little bit faster than the Ubersonic 3s did. Remember, that woven upper on the 3s was tremendously durable. So let's see how the 4s stack up with the durability test. Dremel, 10 seconds, highest grit sandpaper. So I actually did 2 durability tests, one on this DuraGuard layer right here on the toe cap and one on the actual woven material. And if you look here, really good durability on that durability guard, that rubber up there. Didn't even get through that first layer, which is outstanding. But the really amazing part is up here on the woven part of the upper, didn't even barely make a scratch. So Adidas really knows what they're doing here with these ultra durable woven uppers. They're just not the most easy things to break in. Now, like the 3s, the Ubersonic 4s can hold on to some heat with that woven upper, rising 34.4 degrees Fahrenheit after 1 hour of play. Now, the midsole of the Ubersonic 4s is this light strike midsole foam, which is actually a lot spongier than the Ubersonic 2s and 3s, which are actually a little bit more stiff. It also has this really nice arch support here, which you do feel in the shoe. This is not window dressing. That is actually a really good arch support, especially for a lighter shoe at only 13.5 ounces. Now, of course, I had to tear these down, all right? So when you look at the midsole foam here, actually this density of foam reminds me of somewhere between Boost and Bounce foam. It doesn't have the springboard effect that Bounce foam does, but it doesn't deform and stay deformed like a Boost foam does. It's not as spongy. Now, of course, Adidas did keep that huge polypropylene shank right in the middle that does just give you a ton of support as well, which is able to keep these shoes light yet really stable. Now, these shoes do have a pretty wide lateral flange. It is not very sharp, but it is broad and wide, so you are getting a lot of stability on the forefoot as well. Now, speaking of that insole that flew out here, Adidas did do some interesting things on the removable insole. Now, you do have this heel pad right here, as well as 2 different densities of foam. One here, which is actually a little bit spongier, a little bit more forgiving under the lateral side of your foot than a harder one under your big toe joint. Now, this is well intentioned, but this little more spongy foam on the outside of your foot is going to deform pretty quick. So you actually might want to do something about that, maybe slide something else in here like an over-the-counter or custom orthotic. I think the coolest thing I found out on the teardown was these shoes actually have a dual outrigger and intrinsic heel counter. You have the outrigger heel counter here, and they have an intrinsic heel counter in here as well. That's going to give you a lot of stability. The one thing I would have liked to have seen is them just complete this all the way over. I know it's a cool design to have a winglet, but if they would have pulled this all the way over, I think they would have given them even more stability in the heel, but otherwise, great design by Adidas here. Now going to the outsole tread, Adidas did some really interesting things here with a contrasting herringbone tread where you have really flat racing skid herringbones on the medial forefoot and the lateral rear foot, and then more chunky herringbone on the medial heel and lateral forefoot. Now what that's gonna do is that's gonna allow you to slide a little easier. So instead of adding an air channel in here to allow air to flow, you're actually allowing air to go in because you have a flat spot here and a flat spot here. So it's allowing air to exchange in the middle without having to put that channel. When I took these out of the box, I thought these neon yellow inserts of higher density rubber were just a gimmick. However, during the teardown, I did find out that that neon, that higher density rubber actually does go all the way from the posterior lateral side to the back of the lateral outside of your foot, all the way up into the arch of your foot. Now what I really like about this is it's giving you a lot of stability exactly where you need it, under the arch of your foot, and then it kind of bypasses the outside of your foot here where it would kind of be annoying, and it goes to the back of your foot here on the outside, which does give you just that little moment of stability back there to help you when you're kind of going out wide for a ball and you don't want your ankle to roll. So actually awesome design idea right here. Now the fit of the Ubersonic 4s is a lot like the Ubersonic 3s. It is a straight lash shoe, a little bit more forgiving in the forefoot and wider in the heel. So it is gonna fit a wider foot. I'm a 2E and I went with my true size. I had 0 break-in on width. So I think if you are above a 2E, you can try to go up a half size. Otherwise, everybody else, you can go true to size. Length is also true. And like I said, except for this one spot along my big toe joint, this shoe had no break-in time, especially in the midsole and with width. All right, but let's see how the outsole does on the durability test with Dremel 10 seconds, highest grit sandpaper. Now in the outsole durability test, you got about 1.5 millimeters, not quite 2 millimeters of damage. So you are getting a little bit more damage, but this is a 5 millimeter tread thickness. So this actually is gonna take a little bit more time to break down. It's actually not too bad on the Dremel test here, about 1.5 millimeters. Now playing in the Ubersonic 4s are really interesting. They are ultra stable in the rear foot and in the midfoot, and you just feel a ton of cushion back there. Even with only that 2.3 centimeter heel height, you are getting so much arch support that you really do feel cradled while in the court, especially when moving laterally. The one thing I didn't like about playing in the Ubersonic 4s was the forefoot did seem a little bit thin, almost like the 3s. So these shoes are not gonna be as plush in the forefoot as some other more maximalist shoes. But remember, you are trading that for some speed. Now, because of the aerodynamic construction, the thin booty tongue and the woven upper, these shoes feel and play a lot lighter than the 13.5 ounces that they are. So when you're split stepping or moving laterally, kind of jumping, your split steps just feel a little bit lighter. You feel a little bit lighter on your feet, a little more breezy in the air. You feel like you can get up and go really quick. Now, I did notice when I was up on my forefoot a lot, I was starting to feel the ground a lot. So these shoes do have a really low to the ground feeling. So you really do feel like you are gripping the court really well, and you can kind of feel your movement and feel the court in these. The only thing is though, is if you're someone that has, pain in the ball of your foot, you're not gonna like these because after bouncing on them a bunch of times, you really are feeling the court. Now in contrast to that, they do have that really good arch support and a lot of that nice foam in the back. So when you are going off your back foot or you're moving backwards or you're doing more of that lateral movement where you're using more of the shoe, these shoes just feel ultra secure and ultra stable, and you just feel like you're really in control even when moving really low for a ball. Speaking of getting low, I think that's where these shoes are at their best. When you are really going, stretching for a ball or getting down low for a ball, that arch support, that really forgiving foam, the shoelace eyelet closure system, everything that just envelops your foot really gives you a nice, stable, solid feeling when you are getting low for a ball or maybe on one foot or just stretching out wide for a ball. These shoes just keep you ultra stable while still feeling light under your foot. Now on the suicide test, I was able to test out that sliding on these shoes. As you can see here, going into a pretty controlled slide and able to come out of it pretty well. Still came in at 14.30 seconds on the suicide test, which was one of my fastest times ever. And I think that's just because that midsole is light and responsive, but the rest of the shoe is ultra stable. And the serve test showed similar results, 29 centimeters on the serve height test. That midsole can just bounce pretty well, the shoe is pretty light, so you get a decent height. As well as on the serve distance test, I got 77 centimeters of serve distance, which just shows you these shoes are pretty light, so they're able just to move through the air really well. Now, if I had to describe these shoes in one word, it would be quick. And let me specify that. Quick moving side to side, quick on split stepping, quick on reactions. These shoes have everything you need to really get up and go quickly. Now, I will say another word I'd use to describe them is thin in the forefoot. So if you have forefoot pain or you're just prone to a little bit more soreness in the ball of your foot, either get a pair of custom orthotics that has a lot of padding or go look for a shoe that has a little bit more of a stack in the forefoot of the shoe. But of course, I'd love to know what you think about the Ubersonic 4s. Have you tried them yet? Do you want to try them? Do you want to buy them? Let me know in the comments down below. I really hope you had as much fun on this playtest as I did. This was a really good time for me, especially getting to contrast them with the 2s and 3s. I thought that was a lot of fun. So I hope you all have a great day, great night, wherever in the world you are tuning in from. I'll see you next time.